The transmission arrived without warning. It echoed through every major communication tower on Earth, spreading across the skies like a cold wave. People stopped in the streets, staring at holographic screens as an alien symbol burned into view. The message that followed was simple, harsh, and absolute. The Aurelian Empire demanded Earth's surrender. At first, the world fell silent. No one understood how the Empire had found humanity, or why such a powerful civilization would care about a single planet on the edge of known space. But that silence did not last. Panic rose. Governments called emergency meetings. Families locked their doors, though they all knew such gestures were useless. Reporters shouted questions no one could answer. Only a small group inside the United Earth Alliance knew the truth. This day had been expected. In an underground chamber beneath the Pacific Command Center, Commander Han Sung-kyu stood before a wide screen showing the alien message on repeat. He watched the strange golden armor and cold blue eyes of the Aurelian emissary as it declared Earth a primitive world that must submit or be destroyed. Han did not flinch. His hands remained behind his back, his posture calm. He had been trained for a moment like this for most of his adult life. Behind him, the chamber buzzed with activity. Officers typed rapidly at consoles. Analysts tried to decode hidden data from the message. Lights blinked as ships prepared for launch miles below the base. Park Dabine, the lead diplomatic officer and language specialist, stepped up beside Han. She was quick, sharp, and always thinking a few steps ahead of everyone else. A soft glow from her tablet reflected across her face. "So it is confirmed," she said quietly. "The Aurelians are not offering a treaty. They want Earth's population. They see us as expendable labor." Han nodded once. "Then negotiation is not an option." Babin hesitated. "The Council hopes for dialogue. They believe surrender might buy us time." Han turned his head and looked at her, his gaze steady. "Surrender buys extinction." She swallowed because she knew he was right. A deep tremor pulsed through the floor. The chamber dimmed for a moment as massive reactors activated below them. This was the signal Han had been waiting for. The Black Armada was awakening. Far from Earth, hidden in the shadows of Jupiter's orbit, large dark silhouettes began to move. They rose from behind the planet like ghost ships with armor that swallowed light, engines that hummed with barely restrained power, and weapons designed in complete secrecy over 25 years. Not even most soldiers knew the full scale of the project. But Han Sung-kyu did. He had been chosen to lead it. Humanity had feared the day alien contact would come. Instead of giving in to that fear, they had built their answer. Han faced the operations desk. "Bring up the fleet." The screen shifted. A live feed showed lines of black warships drifting in formation. Some were as long as cities. Others were sleek, spear-shaped cruisers with sharp wings that cut through the darkness. At the center floated the flagship, the Obsidian Spear. Commanded by Captain Choi Ji-Hwan. Ji-Hwan was younger than most captains, but he carried himself with calm authority. He had grown up in the military district of New Bizan and earned his rank through both skill and instinct. Now his ship was humanity's strongest weapon. Beside the flagship floated squadrons of fighters, their pilots checking systems for launch. Among them was Lieutenant Kim Soo-yeon, a talented pilot known for her daring maneuvers. She flicked switches in her cockpit with practiced ease as she waited for further orders. Back on Earth, Han watched the fleet with a silent sense of pride. They were ready. They had to be. Dabin crossed her arms, worry pulling at her expression. "The ultimatum gives us 3 days. If we do nothing, the Aurelians will send a vanguard fleet, and the Black Armada will meet them." Han said. The room fell quiet as his words sank in. Above them, a storm rolled across the Pacific sky. Thunder cracked as waves crashed against the distant shore. It felt as if the world itself trembled at what was coming. An officer rushed to Han's side. "Commander, the Council requests your immediate presence for a final review." Han shook his head. "No more reviews. No more debates. The enemy is already on their way." "You cannot refuse the Council," Dabin whispered. "I can," he replied simply. "When doing so saves Earth." The officer looked uncertain, but Han's tone left no room for argument. From the far end of the command center, a large display activated. A new image appeared, long-range scans of space outside the solar system. Tiny red dots began to appear. 1 dot, then 5, then dozens. The Aurelian vanguard had entered the outer system. Gasps spread across the room. Officers froze. Dabin covered her mouth with her hand. "They are early," she said. Han stared at the screen. "They are confident we will not resist." Soft murmurs rippled through the room. Some officers looked shaken. Others looked angry. All of them looked to Han. He lifted his chin. "Send word to Captain Choi. The Black Armada is to move into intercept formation." The officer nearest the console nodded quickly. "Yes, Commander." As commands flew through communication channels, Han felt a familiar tightening in his chest. It was not fear. It was focus. He had spent years preparing for this moment, knowing humanity's survival might depend on one decision. Dabin stepped closer. "You understand the risk? If the Armada fails, then Earth falls," Han finished. "Which is why it will not fail." She stared at him, then gave a small, determined nod. The first enemy ships entered the range of the solar defense network. The alien vessels were sleek and bright, glowing with energy. Their weapons pulsed like beating hearts. The Aurelians were ancient, powerful, and ruthless, but they had made one mistake. They believed humanity was weak. Han turned toward the main screen, watching as the Black Armada shifted into a dark wave moving across the void. They flowed like shadows, silent and cold, ready to strike. Then he spoke the words that marked the beginning of humanity's first great war beyond Earth. "Activate all fleets. We do not surrender. We defend our world." The room filled with renewed energy. Officers sprang into action. Alerts echoed through the base. A low rumble rose from the Earth as launch bays opened. In Jupiter's orbit, the obsidian spear began powering up its weapons. Captain Choi Ji-hwan issued orders with steady composure, his voice clear over the fleet channels. "Formation Delta. All cruisers maintain shadow line position. Fighters prepare for silent approach. No transmissions unless authorized." Su Yian tightened her grip on her controls. Her heart pounded, but her hands were steady. She whispered to herself, "For Earth." The Black Armada slowly spread out. Their hulls gleamed with starlight for a brief moment before fading completely into darkness. They vanished, becoming invisible shapes drifting through space. Humanity's answer to the eye. Aurelian ultimatum had been given not with words, but with movement. Back on Earth, Han watched the enemy dots move closer. He did not blink. "Let them come," he said softly, because once they reached Mars' orbit, they would discover the truth. Earth was not a world waiting to kneel. Earth had built its own empire in the shadows. And today, it would roar. In the cold space beyond Jupiter, the Black Armada moved like a quiet storm. The ships were painted in deep black, absorbing almost all light. Anyone looking at them from a distance would see only the stars behind them, as if the ships were invisible shadows drifting across the void. This secrecy had been humanity's goal when building the fleet. If the enemy could not see them, then the enemy could not prepare. Captain Choi Ji-hwan stood on the bridge of the obsidian spear, watching the tactical map float above the center platform. His eyes followed the glowing marks representing human ships and the faint outlines of predicted Aurelian paths. Even with the coming danger, Ji Huan stood calm. His uniform was perfectly pressed, and his posture steady. He believed that calm minds won battles. Around him, the bridge crew worked with silent focus. Officers monitored power levels, weapon status, and engine heat. A soft hum traveled through the air as the ship slowly changed formation. The voice of strategist Li Hei-rim came from the station beside him. She carried a datapad under her arm, her eyes filled with careful calculation. She had always been known for seeing dangers before others noticed them. "The Aurelian fleet is moving faster than expected," she said. "At this speed, their vanguard will reach Mars' orbit within hours. They will target the colonies first." Ji Huan nodded. "Then we will meet them there." Hei-rim tapped her datapad, her brow furrowing. "Their formation suggests confidence. They expect no resistance. They believe Earth is still arguing about surrender." Ji Huan gave a small, humorless smile. "Good. Their pride will slow them down." A soft beep echoed across the bridge. Communications Officer Ru Min ACO turned in her seat. "Incoming transmission from Commander Han." "Put him through," Ji Huan said. Commander Han Sung-kyu appeared in a floating projection. His face remained as serious as ever, lit by the harsh lights of the Earth Command room behind him. "Captain Choi," Han said, "you are to begin silent advance toward Mars. Do not reveal the Armada until my signal." "Understood," Ji Huan replied. Han's gaze shifted to Hei-rim. "Strategist Li, prepare interception patterns. The enemy must not reach the surface." "Yes, Commander," Hei-rim answered. The projection faded. As soon as Han disappeared, Ji Huan turned to the bridge. "All ships advance. Maintain full stealth. No communications except tight beam encrypted channels." The crew moved instantly. The obsidian spear pushed forward, engines glowing lightly before dimming into dark mode. Hundreds of ships followed behind, forming a black wave moving through space. Lieutenant Kim Soo-yeon sat in the cockpit of her fighter, which was locked inside the launch bay. She drummed her fingers on the control stick, unable to stay still. Patience was not her strongest quality. Her ship systems flashed green, one by one. "Fighter Wing 4. Her squad leader said over the internal channel, 'Hold position until the captain gives the attack signal.'" Soo-yeon breathed out slowly. "Holding position," she replied. Inside her helmet, her heartbeat sounded loud. She knew she would be one of the first into the fight. She also knew that if she hesitated for even 1 second, she might not return. But fear did not stop her. It sharpened her thoughts. Far behind the fleet, Park Da-bin studied the same incoming enemy data on Earth. Her office was smaller than the main command center, filled with holographic screens and translation equipment. She ran simulations, checked alien language patterns, and searched for hidden meaning in the Aurelian messages. The Aurelians believed themselves superior. Their culture was built on domination. They saw weaker species as tools. She could feel that arrogance in every recorded sentence. Yet she also sensed something else. Beneath their confident words and patience. She sent a quick report to Commander Han. "Empire seems eager for fast victory. Could lead to tactical mistakes." Han replied with only one sentence. "We will make them regret that impatience." Da-bin leaned back, exhaling slowly. She hoped the fleet would reach Mars in time. The Aurelian vanguard approached Mars like a bright spear. Their ships glowed gold and white, leaving trails of energy behind them. They traveled in tight formation disc-shaped cruisers, long-speared battleships, and a command vessel that radiated power. In the lead of their formation drifted the dreadnought Solstice Hammer. It was enormous, shaped like a wide blade, with rows of weapon cores glowing along its sides. If left unchecked, it could shatter orbital stations with one volley. The Aurelians sent a broadcast toward Mars, announcing their arrival with pride. Humans on the colonies panicked as alarms sounded, but the enemy did not know something important. The Black Armada had already reached the far side of the planet. Ji-Wan stood with his arms crossed as the dark ships formed a ring around the back of Mars. They remained unseen, silent, waiting. Enemy is entering primary range, Harim said. Hold. Ji-Wan answered. Su-Yeon felt sweat on her palms. Her fighter shook slightly as engines warmed. She wanted to launch, but she waited. The Aurelians continued forward, unaware. Hey, Rim lifted her eyes. If we strike now, we catch them fully off guard. Commander Han will give the signal, Ji-Wan said softly. Just then, a secure message flashed on the main screen. Han Sung-Kyu's voice came through. Black Armada. Engage. Ji-Wan pointed forward. All ships decloak. Attack. The black hulls shimmered back into view first as faint outlines, then as massive warships blocking the stars. The Aurelians froze in confusion. For the first time in their long history, they saw a human fleet that rivaled their own. Before they could react, human weapons fired. Kinetic lances streaked through space like silver lightning. Energy bursts fired from cruisers. The obsidian spear launched its first volley directly at the solstice hammer. Su-Yeon's fighter shot out of the launch bay at extreme speed. Her squad burst forward like a cloud of dark arrows. She locked onto enemy engines, her system trembling with the power of the strike. Wing 4, follow me, she shouted. The Aurelians scrambled. Ships twisted, shields flared, formations broke apart. They had expected a simple invasion. Instead, they were ambushed by a fleet they never knew existed. The solstice hammer attempted to fire its main cannon, but Su-Yeon swept in with incredible speed, weaving through beams of enemy fire. She launched 2 EMP disruptors. They hit. The dreadnought's massive engines flickered, then dimmed. Direct hit. Her wingmate shouted. Su-Yeon pulled up, breath shaking with adrenaline. Keep pressure. Don't let them recover. On the obsidian spear, Harim leaned toward the screen. Enemy vanguard is destabilizing. They are not prepared for our weapons. Ji-Wan nodded. Press forward. Cut their formation in half. Human ships sliced into the enemy line, their dark hulls gliding with precision. Aurelians fired wildly now, their confidence gone. Commander Han watched the battle from Earth in silence. Around him, officers shouted updates, but he remained still. His eyes focused on one thing, the enemy dreadnought losing power. Dabin joined him. They are breaking formation. This is our chance. Han nodded. Signal the fleet. Continue pursuit until they fall back. The battle raged for another hour, and then it ended. The Aurelians retreated, engines burning as they fled toward deep space. Humanity had won. As the Black Armada regrouped behind Mars, Ji-Wan exhaled slowly. His bridge crew cheered quietly. Su-Yeon drifted her fighter through the debris field, staring at the stars with shaking relief. Harim whispered, almost to herself, "We did it. We actually did it." But Ji-Wan remained serious. This was only their first attack, he said. They will return with greater force. Harim nodded. Then we will be ready. Across the solar system, humans celebrated. For the first time ever, Earth had stood against an alien empire, and the empire had been forced to retreat. But deep in space, the Aurelian Empire was already preparing their next move, and humanity was preparing too. The Black Armada would not wait for the next attack. They were already planning to strike back. The quiet after the battle around Mars did not last long. Human ships moved through the debris field, collecting damaged drones, scanning fallen enemy vessels and repairing their own systems. The Black Armada had won, but the victory only made one thing clear. The war was far from over. Captain Choi Ji-hwan stood on the bridge of the Obsidian Spear and watched the wreckage drift by. Pieces of Aurelian armor reflected the red light of Mars, spinning slowly through space. Human drones moved around them like small insects, tagging materials for recovery. Ji-hwan listened to the steady hum of the engines and the faint sound of the crew talking quietly. Even after the victory, the mood on the ship was tense. Everyone knew the enemy would return, and when they did, they would not send a small vanguard. They would bring a true war fleet. Strategist Lee Hae-rim approached him with a datapad in hand. Her hair was tied back, but loose strands framed her face, making her look more tired than usual. "The Dreadnought Solstice Hammer is disabled," she reported. "Its engines won't restart, but its core systems are still active." Ji-hwan nodded, meaning the Aurelians could return for it, or destroy it from a distance. Hae-rim said, "We need to decide what to do with it before that happens." "We will not wait for them to choose," Ji-hwan answered. "If possible, we take it." She blinked. "Capture a dreadnought?" Ji-hwan kept his eyes on the display. "We need to learn their technology. This is the best chance we will ever have." Before Hae-rim could respond, the comms officer turned in her seat. "Captain, incoming message from Commander Han." "Put it through." Han Sung-pyo appeared in a hologram. Behind him, Earth's command center looked even busier than before. Officers rushed from station to station. Alarms blinked in the background. "Captain Choi," Han said, "the Council wants immediate results. They are urging caution, but I disagree. The Aurelians will be back soon, and we must understand their technology before that happens. Proceed with your plan." Ji-hwan gave a small bow of his head. "Thank you, Commander." Han paused, then added, "Be careful. This victory has made us bold, but overconfidence will cost us lives." The projection faded. Ji-hwan took a deep breath. He knew Han was right. Even winning one battle did not make humanity stronger than an ancient empire. Hae-rim crossed her arms lightly. "We will need a boarding team. An airlock strong enough to drill into their hull." "Prepare the team," Ji-hwan said. "I will lead the boarding myself." Hae-rim's eyes widened slightly. "You?" "Captain, that is not standard protocol. This is not a standard war," he replied. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Kim Soo-yeon sat in her fighter, running diagnostics. Her ship had taken damage during the battle. 2 wing plates bent, one thruster strained, and the cockpit shield scorched. She tapped screens with tired hands. Her squad mate Park Jin-woo floated beside her in his own fighter. "You should rest," he said. "You pushed your ship too hard." Soo-yeon shook her head. "There is no time? Next time they come, I want this fighter ready." Jin-woo sighed. "You always say that." "Because it's always true," she replied. Inside the Obsidian Spear's hangar, engineers worked non-stop. Sparks flew as metal panels were replaced. The smell of burned wiring filled the air. Soo-yeon stepped out of her fighter and looked around. Every person in the hangar moved quickly, their faces full of purpose. She felt the weight of their efforts and knew she had to keep going. Call came through her wrist device. "This is Flight Command." "Lieutenant Kim, report to Briefing Room 2. Soo-yeon hurried through the halls. When she entered the briefing room, she found Ji-hwan, Hae-rim, and several armed soldiers waiting. Ji-hwan turned to her. "Lieutenant Kim, we need you for a high-risk mission." She straightened. "Yes, sir." "We are boarding the enemy dreadnought. You will lead the escort fighters to keep our shuttle safe." Soo-yeon did not hesitate. "I understand." Ji-hwan gave a faint smile. "I thought you would." Soon, The Black Armada moved into a new formation around the Solstice Hammer. The Aurelian ship was enormous, its golden armor cracked and scorched from the battle. Even damaged, it looked powerful enough to crush a city. Human shuttles floated forward, escorted by fighters, including Su Yan's squad. They approached the dreadnought's silent hull with extreme caution. In the shuttle, Ji Huan stood with the boarding team. Marines wore heavy armor and magnetic boots. Their helmets displayed steady heartbeats and weapon readouts. Hei Rim monitored structural scans on her wrist. The outer hull is thick. It may take several minutes to breach. Ji Huan nodded. Stay sharp. If the Aurelians left traps, we will find them. The shuttle latched onto the dreadnought's surface with a heavy clang. Robots began drilling into the hull. Metal dust spread into the vacuum. Inside her fighter, Su Yan circled the area. She scanned every direction for signs of enemy reinforcements. No movement. All quiet, she said. Her wingmate Jin Wu replied. Almost too quiet. Finally, the hull broke open. The boarding team entered. The inside of the Solstice Hammer was dim and eerie. Golden walls glowed with fading light. Strange symbols covered every surface. The air smelled sharp, like metal and ozone. Ji Huan stepped carefully, rifle raised. The Marines followed in tight formation. Life signs? He asked. Hei Rim checked her device. Weak readings. Maybe injured crew, maybe machines. They continued forward. The deeper they went, the colder it felt. The ship was dying. Meanwhile, Su Yan's sensors beeped. She frowned. Captain, I am reading a long-range energy spike. Ji Huan's voice came through her earpiece. Source? Unknown. But it's growing fast. Inside the dreadnought, lights suddenly flickered. Hei Rim's eyes widened. Captain, the core is activating. Ji Huan froze. They're trying to scuttle the ship. The Aurelians were attempting to destroy their own dreadnought, to keep humans from learning anything. Ji Huan spoke quickly. Find the core room. We need to shut it down before it overloads. The Marines rushed through the halls. Su Yan saw the energy spike triple. Her fighter's alarms flashed red. Captain, the core will overload in minutes. Ji Huan ran harder. The halls shook around them. Panels fell from the ceiling. Sparks crackled in the air. Hei Rim pointed ahead. There, the core chamber. They burst into the room. A swirling mass of blue energy pulsed at the center. Machines hummed loudly. The overload warning flashed in alien symbols. Ji Huan stepped forward. Rim! She rushed to the control panel and began working, her fingers flying across glowing keys. Can you stop it? He asked. I can slow it, she said, but not stop it completely. We need more time. Ji Huan spoke into his comms. Su Yan, prepare emergency extraction. She responded with urgency. Understood. Hei Rim yelled. 30 seconds until overload reaches critical line. Ji Huan grabbed her arm. We're leaving, now. But the data, human lives come first, he said. They ran back toward the shuttle as the dreadnought shook violently. Metal buckled. Energy flared. Su Yan swooped closer to the hull. Hurry! The boarding team reached the shuttle. The door sealed shut. Launch! Ji Huan ordered. The shuttle shot away from the dreadnought. Seconds later, the Solstice Hammer detonated. A blinding burst of blue light expanded outward. The shockwave hit the shuttle hard, throwing everyone inside off balance. Su Yan pulled her fighter up fast, avoiding the blast. When the light faded, nothing remained of the dreadnought. Hei Rim sat silently, breathing hard. We almost had the core data. Ji Huan placed a hand on her shoulder. We survived. And we learned something more important. She looked at him. What is that? He answered softly. The Aurelians will destroy anything rather than let us grow stronger. Su Yan regrouped with the squad. Staring at the empty space where the dreadnought had been, Jinwu whispered, "They're more dangerous than we thought." Su Yan nodded. "And we will face them again." Back on Earth, Commander Han received the report. He stood in silence, reading every detail. Park Dabin approached him. "The Empire will not forgive this defeat." Han closed the file. "No," he said. "Which is why humanity will not wait." He turned toward the large screen, showing the Black Armada. "We are taking this war to them." The days after the destruction of the Solstice Hammer moved quickly, as if the galaxy itself had begun to speed forward. The Black Armada did not remain near Mars. They could not. Commander Han Sung-kyu ordered the entire fleet to move beyond the safety of the solar system. They were going to strike first, before the Aurelian Empire returned with a larger force. Captain Choi Ji-hwan stood on the bridge of the Obsidian Spear, watching the stars stretch into long lines as the fleet entered faster-than-light travel. The hum of the engines filled the air with a deep vibration. Even after everything they had survived, the ship felt steady, confident, ready. Strategist Lee Hae-rim stood beside him with her datapad. She had spent hours studying the star maps that Dabin had sent from Earth. The Aurelians controlled many territories, but not all of them were loyal. Several border systems were full of people who had suffered under the Empire for generations. "We approach the first border colony soon," Hae-rim said. "Sensors show little military presence." Ji-hwan nodded. "Then they are not expecting us yet, or they do not believe we will dare enter their territory." Hae-rim added, "Then we will teach them what humanity dares," Ji-hwan replied. Meanwhile, in the lower decks of the Obsidian Spear, Lieutenant Kim Soo-yan checked her fighter once again. Engineers had fully repaired it after the Mars battle, polishing the hull until it looked almost new. She sat on the wing while reviewing the upcoming mission details. Her squadmate, Park Jin-woo, approached and handed her a drink pouch. "You need to stay hydrated," he said. Su-Ye-on accepted it with a small smile. "Thank you, but I will be fine." Jin-woo sat beside her. "We are going deeper into their space. Do you think we are ready?" Su-yeon looked at the glowing lights of the hangar. Soldiers rushed from one station to another. The air was full of purpose. "Ready or not," she said, "we have to go." The fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel near a dark red planet covered in mining scars. It had once been beautiful, according to old data, but centuries of forced labor had destroyed its surface. This world was called Kareth Station by the Aurelians. Humans knew it only as a dot on an enemy map, but now the Black Armada was here. On the Obsidian Spear's bridge, the sensors officer spoke quickly. "Captain, we detect distress signals. Several mining colonies are trying to reach us." Ji-hwan frowned. "From who?" Hae-rim looked deeper into the data. "Not Aurelians. The workers. They are not soldiers. They may be civilians or forced laborers." "Open a channel," Ji-hwan said. A shaky voice came through. It was rough and weary, like someone who had not slept in days. "Unknown fleet. Please identify yourself." "The Empire left us. They heard of the battle at Mars. They abandoned this world." Hae-rim stepped forward. "This is strategist Lee Hae-rim of the United Earth Alliance. We are not your enemy." A long silence followed. Then the voice returned, almost crying. "Earth? Humans? You came?" Ji-hwan exchanged a look with Hae-rim. He had expected fear, maybe confusion, but not hope. "We came," he said, "and we will help you. Tell us what you need." Another voice cut in, this one firmer. "The Aurelian overseers fled when the Empire issued new orders. Some of their soldiers stayed behind, but many systems are failing. If you do not help, people will die. Ji Huan spoke into the comms. We will help. Send coordinates of the main colony. As the fleet moved toward the surface, Su Yian returned to her fighter. Jin Wu followed. They abandoned these people. Jin Wu said softly. Su-Yeon tightened her gloves. The Empire only cares about itself. The fighters launched first, flying through the thin red clouds of Kareth Station. Below, they saw giant mining platforms collapsing, smoke rising from broken structures, and long lines of workers trying to escape dangerous areas. Captain, Su Yan said through the channel, there are Aurelian soldiers firing on civilians. Ji Huan's voice came back instantly. Neutralize them. Protect the workers. Su Yan dove toward the ground, engines roaring. Her squad followed. They fired precise blasts that struck the empty vehicles the soldiers were using for cover. The Aurelians scattered, shocked by the sudden attack. Su Yan switched to her external speakers. Drop your weapons. You are outnumbered. Some soldiers obeyed. Others fired back. Su Yan tilted her fighter sharply and landed in a cloud of dust. She jumped out and drew her sidearm, running toward a group of frightened workers who huddled behind a low wall. Follow me, she said. We will get you to safety. One of them looked up at her with tired eyes. Human warrior. Thank you. She nodded. Stay close. Meanwhile, on another part of the colony, Sergeant O Tae-jin led a squad of ground soldiers who had landed earlier. Tae-jin was strong, quiet, and steady even in the middle of chaos. He moved through the falling structures, guiding injured workers toward evacuation shuttles. A young worker stumbled beside him. Why help us? We are not your people. Tae-jin lifted a metal beam off another trapped worker. You need help. That is enough. Human Marines, pilots, and medical units spread through the colony. They worked together with surprising speed, evacuating hundreds of people. News of humanity's arrival spread fast. Soon, entire sections of the colony were cheering, raising their hands, some crying openly. Inside the obsidian spear, Hayrim studied reports coming in from the ground. Captain, the people here have been under imperial rule for more than 100 years. They have never seen the Empire lose. Ji Huan folded his arms. Then today will change their future. On Earth, Commander Han and Park Da-bin monitored every part of the operation. Da-bin translated intercepted Aurelian messages. She looked up sharply. Commander, Aurelian High Command is angry. They are calling these border worlds expendable. Han's expression hardened. Then we will show the galaxy who values life and who does not. Da-bin nodded, then said, there is more. Internal divisions are forming. Some Aurelian governors are refusing orders. The Empire is weakening. Han stepped closer to the screen, showing Ji Huan's fleet. We must push deeper, before they regain control. Back on Kareth Station, the last pockets of Aurelian soldiers surrendered. Su Yan stood atop a mining platform, helmet under her arm, watching workers gather around the landing site, where evacuation shuttles waited. Jin-Wu joined her. We saved them, he said. We did, she said quietly. But this is only one world. How many others are suffering like this? Too many, he answered. Hours later, Ji Huan addressed the rescued workers from a small transport ship. His voice carried across the crowded bay. You are free now, he said. The Empire will not return here while humanity stands. The workers erupted into applause, some shouting the name of Earth as if it were a promise. Hayrim watched them, her heart twisting. They trust us, she whispered. Ji Huan nodded. Then we must not fail them. When the fleet departed, Kareth Station glowed behind them like a wounded but surviving world. It was the first liberated territory in Aurelian space, but it would not be the last dot as the Black Armada prepared to jump again. High Rim looked at Ji Huan. Where next? Ji Huan answered without hesitation. Toward the Imperial Core. Su Yian secured her fighter for the next mission. Tai Jin sharpened his blade in the armory. Han Sun Q studied new maps with Da Bin. Humanity had taken its first steps into enemy space. And now they would march straight toward the empire that once demanded their surrender. The Black Armada moved deeper into Aurelian space, crossing borders that no human fleet had ever dared to touch. The stars grew brighter as they approached the Imperial Core, but the journey grew harder with every step. The Empire was no longer confused or slow to act. It had now understood that humanity would not surrender, and it had begun to gather its strongest forces. Captain Choi Ji Huan stood at the center of the Obsidian Spear's bridge, feeling the tension that filled the air like a storm waiting to break. Reports from scouts showed heavy enemy formations ahead. Huge fleets gathered near a bright blue star, guarding a system the Aurelians called Valinor. Strategist Li Hei Rim studied the enemy pattern. "This looks like a trap," she said quietly. Ji Huan nodded. "Of course it is. They want to crush us here. Then why not turn back?" One officer asked. Chi-Huan looked at the maps glowing before him. "Because Earth needs us to win, and the people suffering in this empire need us to keep going." Harim raised her eyes to meet his. "Then we must be ready for their strongest fleet." Meanwhile, in the hangar, Lieutenant Kim Su-Yeon checked her fighter for the third time. Every bolt, every panel mattered now. Park Jin-woo and the rest of the squad stood nearby, silently preparing. "This battle will be different," Jin-woo said. Su-Yeon nodded. "Yes, they will throw everything at us, and we will throw everything back," Jin-woo said with a determined grin. The fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Valinor, and space lit up instantly. Dozens of massive Aurelian ships waited in formation, their hulls shining like sharp silver blades. Their flagship soared in the center, larger than any ship humanity had ever seen. Communication signals came through. An Aurelian commander appeared on the screen, tall and glowing with pale gold light. "I am Commander Velos of the Imperial Guard," he said. "Human fleet, you have come far, but your journey ends here. Surrender now, and your deaths will be painless." Ji Huan stepped forward. "Earth does not surrender. Not today. Not ever." Velos tilted his head. "You are brave, but bravery will not stop destruction. The Empire will erase your world." Ji Huan's voice grew colder. "We already destroyed your super weapon, and we will destroy your fleet." Velos gave a small smile. "Then let us see which world breaks first." The transmission ended. The battle began. Enemy ships fired first, bright beams crossing the darkness. The Obsidian Spear shook under the impact, but its shields held firm. Human ships spread out in a defensive formation, firing back with powerful Black Lance cannons. "Fighters launch!" Ji Huan ordered. Su-Yeon, and her squad shot into space like arrows. The enemy fighters swung toward them, flashing with deadly light. She locked onto the closest target, fired, and spun away before the explosion reached her. "Watch your left, Su-Yeon." Jin-woo shouted. She turned sharply, dodging a shot that would have destroyed her fighter. The battle around her became a storm of light and fragments. Human pilots fought with skill and fierce determination, refusing to give an inch. On the Obsidian Spear, Hei Rim moved fast between screens. "Captain, enemy ships are trying to break our center line." Ji Huan adjusted the formation. "Send the Iron Vortex and Nightblade forward. Block them." 2 human cruisers pushed ahead, firing everything they had. The enemy assault slowed, but only for a moment. Velos commanded his ships with frightening precision. Every time humans blocked one attack, another wave appeared. "This is not like the others," Hayrim said, voice tense. "This fleet is trained for war," Ji-Hwan answered. "So are we." On Earth, Commander Han watched the battle through a live relay. Park Da-bin scanned enemy transmissions quickly. "Commander," she said, "the Empire has ordered all loyal fleets to retreat to the capital. They are preparing for a final defense." Han nodded slowly. "So this battle is not just to stop us. It is to buy them time." Da-bin's hands trembled slightly. "If Ji-Hwan wins here, the path to the capital will be open." Han looked at her. "And if he loses?" Da-bin swallowed. "Then Earth will face the Empire alone." Back at Valinor, the battle grew worse. Several human ships were heavily damaged. Su Yian's fighter had taken 2 hits, leaving scorch marks along the wing. "Jin Wu, pull back!" She shouted. "No." He replied, "I can still fight. Your shields are gone. Do you want to die?" He hesitated, then pulled back with frustration and relief mixed in his voice. "Fine, but you better not die either." Su Yian did not answer. She focused on an enemy bomber heading toward a damaged human cruiser. She accelerated, fired, and destroyed it just in time. Inside the obsidian spear, alarms echoed. "Captain!" shouted an officer. "The enemy flagship is charging a massive energy weapon." Hayrim paled. "If that fires, it will break our fleet in half." Ji-Hwan stared at the screen. "Then we stop it before it fires." He activated the fleet-wide channel. "All ships, target the enemy flagship. Hit it with everything you have." Human ships changed formation instantly. Dozens of beams hit the enemy flagship's shields. The light grew brighter and brighter, but the shields held. "They are too strong." Hayrim shouted. Ji-Hwan gripped the command rail. "Then we bring them down another way." His eyes hardened. "Prepare ramming course." The entire bridge froze. Hayrim turned to him, stunned. "Captain, that is suicide." Ji-Hwan's voice was steady. "If their flagship fires, we lose everything. Earth, the fleet, the people we saved. We cannot let that happen." Silence filled the bridge. Then Hayrim spoke quietly. "I will set the course." Before she could finish, a voice came through the comms. "Do not do it, Captain." It was Su-Yeon. She sounded breathless, her fighter shaking from damage. "Let me do it. A fighter can slip past their shields. I can hit the weapon core directly." Ji-Hwan replied sharply. "No. Denied." "Captain," Su Yan said softly, "my fighter is already damaged. I cannot make it back to the obsidian spear. Let me do this." Jin Wu's voice broke through the channel. "Su Yan, no. Don't you dare?" She did not answer him. She waited for Ji-Hwan. After a long moment, he closed his eyes. "Permission granted," he said. The hangar went silent. The bridge went silent. Even the fighters near her seemed to pause. Su Yan flew straight toward the enemy flagship. It fired at her, but she dodged every shot, pushing her damaged fighter beyond its limits. Jin Wu shouted desperately, "Su Yan, come back, please." She whispered into the comm, "Thank you for everything." Then she accelerated. Her fighter became a streak of light. She hit the weapon core. Massive explosion erupted across the flagship. Its shields collapsed. Human ships fired again and again, and the great Aurelian flagship finally broke apart. When it exploded, the rest of the Aurelian fleet panicked. Enemy ships retreating. Hayrim said. Ji-Hwan bowed his head. "Su Yan, thank you." The Battle of Valinor was over. The path to the imperial capital was open. Humanity had won, but at a cost that would never be forgotten. As the Black Armada gathered itself for the final march, Ji Huan looked out at the stars. "We finished this," he whispered, and the fleet moved forward, carrying the hope of Earth and the memory of those who gave everything.